SANIBONANI, how are you? Are you okay? So, today's episode we have Moegamat Tyler Thomas, who is, let's just say, someone who is very opinionated in a good way. And I also want to give a huge disclaimer that obviously these opinions expressed here are the opinions of the two of us having this conversation. And I'd love if you could disagree with us in the comments section. Email me, send me a WhatsApp message on the WhatsApp line. Let me engage with you, pretty please. I'd love to. Anything that we touched on here today, be it clothing, masculinity, femininity, anything, rape culture, men's and their body image issues, let me know what you think and what you feel. And also there's a portion in here where he speaks about Islam, the religion, to ask that you be a bit sensitive towards that. But if you do have any comments or would like to add on or disagree or agree, please do tell me in the comments. Have a great time and thank you for watching. My name is Keisha Lee, and I'm your host for Take It Off.
Rape. I'm saying it would reduce rape in those specific instances.
That is a bold statement, my friend.
I don't think so. I feel like let's say you went to a club, and everyone wore super long dresses. I don't think you'd find any men in that club. I don't see it happening.
You think so? Because you just said that men have this physiological reaction to just seeing a woman's form and thinking things, and some men go further and much further than just thinking things. So I think regardless of what a particular woman wears in a club, whether it be a long from the neck to your toes, whether it be form-fitting, whether it be just covering baggy nonsense, that either way, man has a choice to make at the end of the night. And I think his choice then is very important. And no matter what she is, it's still going to happen.
I do agree with you to some extent. I feel like when I'm saying long dresses, I'm talking about like dresses that aren't form-fitting. And I've never found not that I wouldn't find them attractive. I think there's a difference between finding someone attractive and sexually appealing, but I've never found someone wearing form-fitting clothing like sexually appealing. And I think you can if you would ask a guy if they ever saw if you looked at a Muslim woman covers herself up, not necessarily like niqab, which is the thingy, but just wearing hijab and the you wouldn't find many men who would say that they found that sexually appealing. You know what I mean? There are obviously instances of those women getting raped as well. But I personally feel like it would happen a lot less. But I'm not saying that if women were to dress differently, that we'd have no rape.
Okay.
If that makes sense, or significantly less rape. I'm just saying that there's lots of social norms or things that we consider normal, which contribute to issues of rape and murder and things like that.
You're entitled to your own opinion. I'm trying to put myself on the inside. Okay, so I kind of want to finish rape culture so we can go on to men and their bodies, because I feel like that's also really important for men to think and know about. So the last on rape culture is I want to know about perpetuating rape culture, right? So we know that unfortunately men speak, like you said, they talk, they will think that, oh my word, look at that sexy beast woman over there. And they're going to speak amongst their friends. So what, in your opinion, in your circles, in your whatever else, in your life, so the whole 26 years of it, why is it that it is perpetuated in these circles of men's friendship or men's, like men's, what do they call it? It's just circle of friendship. Why is it
Yeah.
in those circles where how many men actually say, you know what, that's not right. What you did there or what you said there is not right. Or you will go and lay in public interest if you want to go and say like, you know, my friend did this, or to just not stick around that particular person who did or spoke in such a way that you'd think that you would be inciting violence or things like that. Is that happening? Do men call each other out? Like, is that something that you guys do, or do you guys just laugh it off and go on with your day?
Um, I I do think to some degree it does get pulled out, especially if it's like, you know, over the top. But I don't feel like
When does it get
the
over the top then?
there's
What
no
qualifies
middle.
as over the top?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So there is no real line. You know, you can society can shift the line wherever it wants to. Um, Personally, I don't feel that men should be speaking about women in general, unless it's because like uh, my my personal philosophy is on on the matter of like men and women is I'm a very traditional person, right? So I believe in um having a wife, respecting her, not looking at other women, not speaking about other women, or trying my best not to. If I do, understand that I'm doing it and not think that it's okay to do, because that's the only way that I'm going to fix my behavior as a man or
Mhm.
whatever. But that's again where I would say that things that I consider to be social ills, things like alcohol, pornography, has a big part to play. Boys are introduced to pornography very young in their lives, at a time of their lives where they are most impressionable. So they develop ideas and um, like beliefs of what a woman is because of what they see, and that has a very big and the thing about pornography is it's the same like any other addiction. It's a there's a like, you get a dopamine release like when you smoke a cigarette or when you smoke weed or when you smoke whatever, you get a dopamine release, which is like a happiness, like it's like a stimulant. But it's not a so you get serotonin and you get dopamine, right? Serotonin is your sustained happiness and dopamine is like a spike just to keep you balanced. um, and it's it's so that we continue because it's something that necessitates our survival. So it's a survival mechanism. So when you eat, you release dopamine so that your body knows I should always eat to feel a certain way, to feel happy, or to get the spike of happiness. Um, so in that same way, when you as a man ejaculate, there's a release of dopamine, right? Um, and when you are addicted to pornography, it's the same with any addiction. Is that dopamine spike gets smaller and smaller and smaller until it's almost non-existent, and that I feel has a very there are studies that also suggest that it's a big contribute contributing factor to rape and objectification of women. Um, but there are a lot of feminists that there are circles of feminists that do agree that pornography is bad for society, and there are others who feel that it's okay that a woman is allowed to uh, portray herself in a certain way because it's her body, it's her choice, those kinds of things. Um, but then, in that same breath, expect men to have a specific view of women in general, but a specific view on that particular woman in pornography, if that makes sense.
I hear you. I have an episode about pornography coming out later during the year. But I just want to get back to this rape culture and perpetuating thereof. What do you do? What is your response to men who make jokes about rape or sexual jokes to the point where it basically can be classified as rape, or jokes about doing things harming women in a particular way? Like obviously, rape culture
I,
is a lot of things.
yeah,
It is the way people like literally may will treat women or make jokes about women or how they say things in passing or whatnot, or perpetuating their or not doing anything in their friendship circles when they talk about things like that. What can men do and what can other men do who have, I don't want to say perpetrated this, man. I just want to know, like, what is it in a man's head? Well, because you're the man here at the moment. What is
yeah.
it that I don't know? I think I'm. To me, it is so deeply disappointing that it is unfortunately perpetuated by men all the time. Would you go if you knew one of your friends had raped somebody? Would you go and lay do something? Would you go and give him over to the police or something like that? Would you do that?
Yeah. I I mean, it's something that I I say I would do. I I would like to be that person, right? Um, and my if I wasn't to do it, it wouldn't be to protect that person. Much the same way as we wouldn't want drugs to exist, or drug dealers to exist in our communities. But do we go out and say, hey, this is a drug dealer that lives here, or hey, this guy who's selling illegal alcohol here? We don't do those things, and it's not to protect those people. It's because we have something. There's just something that I wouldn't want to be associated with someone that has raped someone. There is I guess, guilt that you would feel
Can
for
I ask
putting
you this?
another human being in. Yeah.
Harm's way. Sorry. The fact that you think he's rape and drug lords, that was a lot. But I want to ask you this. What about sexual misconduct in the workplace? If you worked in a traditional setting where office, all of these things, and if someone, this man was coming onto this woman day after day and you saw this happening, would you report him to HR? Would that be easier?
Yes. No, that's something that I would do, and something that I have done.
That's great. Well, thank you, but
Because
also
I feel
not
like it's
thank you.
no,
I feel
but
like it should be
when I made
both.
that comparison, yeah, yeah, when I made that comparison, I wasn't comparing the act. I was comparing the
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 girl.
feeling that you would feel when handing someone over. It's like, even though like a drug dealer is harmful for the community, and
And
that
so is the
raping kids to
rapist.
become exactly. So by virtue of that, we should be reporting drug dealers. But there's either for your own well-being, that you wouldn't want anything to happen to you if you did report it, or some sort of guilt that comes from putting someone in jail. I'm not saying that that's exactly what it is. I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying that if I wasn't to report someone um, for raping, or one of my friends for raping, that would most likely uh, be a reason, and it's, well, not a very good reason, to be honest. But I haven't been around someone who's endorsed rape, and I don't think many people have, or many guys have been in circles where, unless this circle of rapists. Um, but I don't think people, even rapists, are comfortable with saying or being outright about what they do. Um, I feel like someone who says, "Hey, that woman's hot." He could or couldn't be a rapist. I wouldn't know. There's no way of me knowing what he does when I'm not around him. And there could be someone who doesn't even look at women in public, that goes around at night stalking women and raping women. So it's very hard to identify. And I feel like I mean, I wouldn't consider it man bashing, or like that, but a lot of men are naturally going to perceive it as being that, when a woman says, call out your friends for being rapists, because how can no one know a rapist? And I feel like that's exactly what it is. It's very hard. Just like you wouldn't know that your uncle is a pedophile or your grandfather, you just wouldn't know if you haven't been a victim of his or their pedophilia. You know what I mean? Um, it's just something that's very hard to identify.
Okay, but I know that it may be very hard to identify. But I want to know and I want you to acknowledge also. I think females also want you to acknowledge that whenever you are in the presence of someone who makes jokes like that, who makes silly comments to women who maybe has confessed in a way that we can't pick up, or maybe tacitly or expressly has said, I have done this particular thing to this particular woman.
Yeah,
And to in that instance be like, that is not correct. Not just say that is not correct and to walk away. I feel like in that instance,
yeah,
it is your duty to do something about it, or at least
yeah.
that's my opinion.
No, I would definitely agree with that.
Okay, thank you very
I just feel that I mean, it's my like my opinion, and I only have my own experience to go by. And I've personally never experienced. I've experienced sexual misconduct in the workplace, right? And it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't bad. It was just really uncomfortable. It was a guy who would just make sick sounds in the office, which is like weird,
yeah.
And I mean, he would make comments, and especially on like uh what's it, like star functions and things like that. Like there's at the end of the day, we're all people, right? We all get drunk. I mean, I don't, but I mean, there are people that get drunk, and there are women that are a bit flirtatious or promiscuous when they are drunk, and that can be misinterpreted.
Yes.
And for a man with our chemical makeup, like I said, can take that as a sign of, or like a sign of consent. I wouldn't say consent, but but, but they would assume that this person wants to have sex with me. That's not to say that they have, but it's an assumption that gets made. You know what I mean? Especially if it's a drunk man and a drunk woman that's being promiscuous. It doesn't mean that she wants to have sex. It doesn't
Consent
mean
there
that
is
he
very
is going
vital.
to rape her.
Yeah, yeah,
But it is like it's a weird space. I've been at staff parties and I have felt uncomfortable. I've had awkward stares from colleagues that like on a normal day, we talk or whatever, and then at the staff function it's like these like sexy eyes, and I'm like, that's weird. Like I'm just super. Not that it's consent, but I mean, I'm just the person that like I try my best not to be sexually attracted to other women or whatever, or if it's not my wife or it's not my girlfriend or it's not whatever. But they do happen, and it is uncomfortable for me because I don't want to be that person. Yeah. And again, like even though I have these opinions, I'm not necessarily advocating for these ideas. I'm just saying there's people are diverse. Even if I had an opinion of, this should stop and this should whatever, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will stop. So I feel like we just need to be mindful of the world that we live in,
True.
whether it's good or bad.
But don't you think the smallest little difference, like they say, like even if you contribute cents to a particular donation thing, every little bit helps. Like the smallest thing you see, you pick up. Like that thing, say something, see something, say something. I think even
Yeah.
the smallest little bit of whatever it is that you're doing will help the cause in terms of these perpetrators who are getting away or are not being whatever else. Just think that you can do as a man who goes in circles or goes places, whatever else, can be just, like you said, mindful of the world you live in, but also just cognizant of the fact that these atrocities happen apparently in South Africa. This, I don't know the correct stats, but I think it's every 2 minutes woman is raped in our country. Like, WTF. But anyway,
Yeah.
let's go on to men and their bodies because I feel like we're going to be here till next week. Okay, so yeah, I asked you to watch those two videos. If you didn't, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
I watched them.
Thank you very much.
Um,
So yeah, I
yeah.
wanted to ask you. Oh, what have you got to say about those videos, and then I'll ask my questions after.
Okay. So again, I do agree with many of the points, but I think most of those points are only valid if we look at media as 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 the beauty standard, or if we follow what we consider to be the beauty standard. Um, I personally don't. So I've never had an issue with what I mean, I did have an issue with weight when I was like when I was really young.
Mm.
I was chubby, and like you get picked on at school and whatever. And then because of that, I did make an effort to like lose weight. And even when I lost weight, because I'm big boned. It never looks like I'm skinny. So I mean, at some point, I had my ribs were showing, but people were still calling me fat, or like whatever. Um, and that might have been a bit unhealthy, and I don't think that's cool.
Mm.
Um, I feel like if everyone didn't follow, a beauty standard, that the world would be, a much better place. But I'm not going to say that, you know, um, that people who want to be, muscular shouldn't exist, or people that want to wear certain types of clothing shouldn't exist. They should exist, but they shouldn't dictate what everyone else has to be like. That's just my opinion on it.
I'm so sorry. Okay. I'm allergic to your bullshit. I'm kidding. No, I the reason I kind of chuckled when you said big boned is because I've seen a lot of um, I want to say that it's men who have said these comments. How women say,
Yeah,
"Oh, just big boned," and men are like, ugh, just big boned bullshit. And how beauty standards have come from Marilyn Monroe to whoever
yeah.
the person right now. I honestly don't know who the most sexiest man is. I think 2019 was John Legend. That's the last time I knew who the sexiest man alive was because I saw it on Facebook. I don't know who 2020's person was. I don't know who this year's person.
I wouldn't know.
I just So the reason I asked you to watch those videos is because I don't think it's spoken enough of. Wait, let me rephrase that. I don't think there is enough conversation about what men think of their bodies. Because obviously we have this female body shaming this, we have female groups or support groups in terms of whatever sicknesses they may be going because of self-esteem, because of body image issues, because of all of these things, which are great, but there aren't enough noise. There isn't, I don't see enough noise about men and body image issues pertaining themselves. And maybe it is because we've always just known men are supposed to be powerful and muscles, cool vibes. That's it. And then now when you're a kid, it's like, and then when you're a teenager, adolescent vibes, you eventually sometimes get into the. Is your screen frozen or am I talking to myself?
No, no, no. I'm sitting very still. I'm just
Okay.
paying attention.
Sorry. Okay, cool. So I want to ask you, in light of all of these things, obviously, well, this is one you're probably going to say yes to. Did you know or did you ever think that men have body image issues?
Yes.
So you
Um,
already
and I know
prior.
you asked to mention some of them. And I think like it was hard. I know because for me it was only weight.
Okay.
And the weird thing is when I watched those videos, there were guys. There was a specific guy speaking about being skinny, and it was weird for me because that was what I considered to be, what you
Normal.
should look like. Yeah. Um. So there's obviously both sides of the spectrum, and then there's the issue of height, where there's the short guy who complains that he's short, and
Mm-hmm.
I complain that I'm tall. So it's like because I always get asked how's the weather up there, or I get made fun of about certain. I wouldn't be able to wear the same cap size as someone else because I have a bigger head because I'm taller. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to
I,
imagine how
I
tall
wear
you are. I feel
bigger
like the last time I saw you, you weren't that tall, were you? Or have you grown?
I think maybe I could have grown a bit more. But I think I'm like 1.86, which is like close to 1.9.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, it's at some height it does get a bit awkward. Um,
Hmm. Should I be
so
shame? No, I shouldn't be. So yeah, could you
like I've obviously
wait and sorry?
and yeah, there was another one who's penis size. Like that's a thing. Um, and I think it's something like as a young boy because I'm a late bloomer, so I'm also very you know I thought girls were weird till grade 9. Whereas like other guys were like from grade
Okay.
5 thinking about women and stuff. Um, so I'm very there. Oh yeah, okay. In boys groups, you know, there will be like this competition of like who has the biggest whatever. But like no one shows, we're not like taking it out. But like everyone adds an intro too, and therefore you have to add, and you'll I feel guilty like it's not actually that big, but I have to like at least be average. But everyone's doing it. You know
Mm.
what I mean? And it's a weird thing. Obviously, like they're all like real outliers where you get guys with like really small, whatever, and guys with, like really big where it becomes uncomfortable. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's like that's a bit of a
So
weird
those are the
one.
only
And I don't
two
know
three
why
men.
many have those issues. Yeah, I mean that's what I can think of. I
Okay.
don't know if you can enlighten me on any other.
Definitely. I did my research. Yeah, there are quite a few. And, I'm surprised you didn't say anything that, that would be considered female like anorexia or bulimia, that men face these issues too. And,
Oh yeah,
those
I
are
didn't.
eating disorders. But no,
Yeah, no. So when I was speaking
surprised
about
and
weight,
not
like I'm
surprised.
just generally speaking
Oh, okay. No, that's okay.
about the
I'm
issues.
only
Yeah.
saying I want to make this distinction because a lot of men don't see themselves or ever having those issues or would call them by their names because ugh, females have that. Or we know as females, models would have that thing. So they have eating disorders. We don't have those things. Or they have anorexia or women struggle with bulimia.
Yeah.
They don't, it's not something that we know that men always fight or struggle with, but they do. And like muscle dysmorphia, like I didn't even know about that until I did my research. Like for real.
The
And
first time
and
I've heard
way
of that.
Oh, you see, you as a man who
Yeah.
isn't even aware of those things. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting that there are issues that men have with their bodies, with their images, with like self-esteem and things like that. But we don't always make a lot of noise or conversation about it as much as we do females. Just like the previous episode that is airing today about fatherhood, there aren't many support groups for fatherhoods or for fathers because
Hmm.
that women form communities or have communities of support and garner so much attention, but fathers don't because we know that fathers are deadbeat or fathers are this and that, and we know that fathers have this, but they also need support, whether it be psychological or whatever it is. That and also the conversation around those things are really small. So I think it is really important to highlight these issues that men also face, even if you didn't know about muscle dysmorphia or whatever else. But also, you would be able to know the names, but you'd know the triggers for them. Like obviously, you mentioned social media, one of the big
Yeah.
triggers. Then there's peer pressure. Then there's family. Like one of the guys in the video said that his dad had said, "What's happening? Why you so fat?" And then a few years later, he was like, "Why you so skinny?" So like
Yeah.
particular influence of a male figure in your life saying that why you're so fat, and then a few months later saying why you're so skinny. Like that obviously impacts your mental health in terms of how you then see yourself, your self-esteem. And I don't think that
Yeah, definitely.
about those things enough. That's why I wanted to do this in the men's series. So I wanted to highlight those things. And I'm not sure if it's the video I sent you or another video that I saw, that this man says boys, just like girls, are influenced by the bodies they are exposed to. And he made the example of action figures. Like when you were little, I'm sure you had like, I don't know, what was when we were little, what the action figures of? The Ninja Turtles?
Yeah, like I had like Batman and Spider
Goku
Man, like
and
that was
those
my
guys.
thing. Yeah.
So he showed this images of how over the years those action figures have changed to before they had like maybe an outline of muscles to right now where we have those Marvel guys. Was it not Superman? That's Marvel. That's DC. Who's Marvel again?
Yeah.
America. How he has
Uh yeah.
muscles and he's just ripped. And so how that has changed and how boys see that and be like, I want to be ripped like that. Or I want to look like that. And that's how muscle dysmorphia comes from. People work out and they use all types of steroids and they use all types English. And they just do craziest things to look like things that we shouldn't even look like. Like, look how Barbie looks, damn it. That skinny bitch.
Hmm.
No offense. So yeah, it's just
Yeah.
how often do you think or take cognizance of what you're seeing and what you want to look like? I know you said that you don't pay attention to fashion. That to you is nothing in the world right now. But what have you, maybe when you were little, did you want to look like that particular man on television or one way ever?
And I don't think I've ever been that person. Like
Okay.
I feel like there's also just I might have some issue. I don't know. I've had this feeling that I'm probably what's the word? It's something on the autism scale or spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
There's a name for it. Um, I can't get the name. Um, but it's normally it's on like so you get like the autism spectrum, and obviously you got like the one side of autism, and then you have like the other side that's more um I guess associated with like intellectuals and stuff like that. And I have a feeling that I have that. Um, s because I've never wanted to be like the ideal man, whatever. I always just wanted to be accepted for who I was. There was a time in my life where I wanted to be cool, but that never ever, to me, that never meant working out and, you know, having a ripped body or whatever. It was just mainly, you know, wearing my hair a certain way or wearing a specific dress code or, but eventually that fizzled because it didn't it's not something that made me happy. It was something that made me feel weird every time I had to. If I couldn't be myself, you know, to get like a girlfriend or whatever, then I just didn't want to be that person. And I know that's not the case for a lot of people. Most people feel like they have to look a certain way to get either attention from the opposite gender or to get respect at work or you know just to be socially accepted. um I think it's also like I've just really been like this anti-establishment person for so long that like I look over those issues, if that makes sense. So for me to hear that, like for me to hear men speak about um wanting to be what they see in the media was weird for me because I mean, when I consciously made that decision, I was 15 years old. And I'm 26. It's been 11 years. You know what I mean? And I never thought that that was something that actually existed, and it was enlightening to see that. You know what I mean? Yeah,
So I don't know.
I don't.
Do you think body image issues are the same? Like, I don't want to use that as an example, no. But do you think that again, this is a particular thing where we can't always identify in men that they have body image issues? Obviously, you can't identify in anybody, or unless you can, they are literally displaying outward thingies that you can see that they have body image issues. But
Yeah, I think that's just it's because of and it's not that men shouldn't be more outspoken or whatever about this issue or these issues. It's also just because of those like biological differences. Like I know I did say that like men and women are emotional creatures, but women are more emotional than men, and therefore
I
more
thought you said
comfortable
it was
with.
equal.
Eh?
I thought you said it was equal.
No,
Now you're saying
no,
women are more emotional?
I'm not saying no. I'm not saying men are equally as emotional as women. I'm saying that we are all emotional beings. And that's not the bad thing. Like women are more care. Like you get fathers who care, but you get a lot more fathers who don't care, and that's evidence of the fact that that psychologically we are just our makeup is a lot more different. I feel like if men were as attached to children or their children as mothers are attached to their children, it would be hard for those fathers to leave the house and actually go and provide. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying like in today's world that's how it should be. I'm just saying that because we've evolved from a time where we had to hunt and we are still chemically those same people. So yeah, so I think women are more comfortable um with speaking about issues than men are in general. And
Do you think that's a stigma?
that could be a bad thing. I'm not saying that it's a good thing that men aren't as comfortable. You know what I mean? I'm just saying men aren't as comfortable. Um,
Do you
that's
think
just
that's a stigma, just like how mental
if it
health?
changes, it could be. It could be. Um, it probably has developed from social norms of the past, that men are that way and that men continue to be that way. Um, I think that men should be able to speak. I feel like because in my opinion, like so many of these issues come from modern society, that solving these issues isn't enough. Um, it's if whatever triggered these emotions or like portraying men in the media or portraying women in the media as these whatever, if that was taken away, I don't think people would have you know be uncomfortable in the skin if it wasn't like something that was so. Because like if you look at billboards, there's always a sexy woman, and that makes women feel inferior to other women for no reason. And I don't think that there should be a woman on a billboard for an ad that doesn't need, you know.
That's so
Because
true.
I've seen like in the UK, I've seen this was this one guy who showed this ad of it was a, I think it was like a like one of the we have, I think it's called Waste Man in Cape Town. I don't know. It's like these um that like waste, they or it's just no, it's a scrap company. So they come and collect scrap, and then there's like an ad with like a woman in lingerie with a chili in her mouth, and it says, I can't remember what it says, but it's for, and he's like, he can't understand what this has to do
To
with
do.
women. And if we keep doing that, because you see that more and more that women are being used to sell products,
Because
it's
sex
just
sells.
going to make women
That's
feel
why
less
marketing
and less
ploy,
comfortable.
because
Yeah,
sex sells.
exactly.
They're going to use sex, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Really unfortunate.
I mean, it only sells because, like, who's dominating that market? It's not women. Like, if you're using a woman to sell something, you're trying to appeal to men.
And I mean, who's then behind the marketing? Men as well, aren't they?
Exactly. So, like, there's,
Oh,
that's
men
why I say, like,
is the problem here. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, yes, like that is what I'm saying. But I think it's the social norms that we have from the West that has made men into what they are. I don't think that in the past men have been. Uh, well, I mean, you can argue that they were, because I mean, there's lots of similarities in the past. Um, but I think there are. If I can like I don't know to do with this, but from like an Islamic perspective, we have guidelines on how women should be treated, right? And for us, our sense of morality is objective morality, which is um, it doesn't matter, but like your opinion doesn't matter. There is a set way of doing things because God knows best, right? Um, and there's like and like a lot of people would argue that um, you know Muslim women are oppressed, and if you ask those women, a lot of them would say that they aren't oppressed. It's a very like Western driven
Mm.
narrative. Um, and the thing is, like a lot of women who wear hijab will say that they feel liberated because they have a lot less men staring at them, and they have a lot more men speaking to them as human beings and not as objects of sex, or
Yes.
not entertaining the ideas because it might possibly lead to sex. Um,
Can
things like
I
that. Like
just
you get a lot of men in high positions who hire women because they are sexually attractive in the hopes that they might potentially
yeah.
have an opportunity to sleep with him. And
Mm.
things like uh, there's like rulings on how men should conduct themselves around women. Um, a man is not, and I know it's not widely practiced, but I believe that it should. Is that a man shouldn't look at a woman?
I just wanted to mention that I've been
Yeah,
seeing this thing in Facebooks about how Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he's walking with some man and they see a woman and he says, "Cast your eyes lower" or something like that. And I don't know how true that is, but I feel like
yeah. So
because I think I wish
no,
is it actual it's actually a thing.
that is true.
Oh, okay,
That
that's
is
great.
so.
Because I feel like we can learn so much from that one particular instance in with regards to how we treat women and how we see them.
Yeah, I think so too. And but the thing is, it's a lot like in Western society. It could be seen as a sign of disrespect. It's like, why won't you look at me as a woman? Am I inferior to you as a man? And in and that happens a lot because I've seen it happen a lot because obviously I'm trying to learn as much as I can. Um, so I watch like lots of debates and things like that between you know like Muslim preachers versus like Christians or atheists or whatever, and they always make these arguments. And the thing is, it's to protect the dignity of women, because if we look at them as a man, you see the beauty in a woman, and you should be able to without if you don't look at a woman and she speaks to you, you are more inclined to listen to what she has to say. You know what I mean? Because as a man, you just, unfortunately, we are built a certain way to find women, attractive. And another thing would be things like we don't shake hands with women, and that's also a form of because physical contact is something that leads to emotions. So we generally, oh well, it's the prohibition is that a man doesn't shake hands with a woman, not because she's inferior, but because to protect her dignity as a woman, so that I don't feel have any thoughts of her sexual desires or whatever, because it makes her, no, it doesn't make her less of a woman, but I'm defiling her in my mind, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And there's like lots of these like little differences that you would find in like Islamic society that hasn't been tainted by the West at this point. Like most of it has. So you have issues of patriarchy and things like this, and like women not being allowed to drive, women not being allowed to do this, women not being allowed to that. But if you historically like things like the Prophet peace be upon him's wife, Khadija. Um, she was a businesswoman. She was 40. She was 40, and he was 25 when she proposed marriage to him. He didn't propose to her. She proposed to him. She was a businesswoman. Um, the first, or well, the oldest university that we have today is or was a university established by a Muslim woman. And the Quran and Islam promotes the religion itself promotes um, like the rights of women. There's property rights. There's the rights. The money that a woman earns is her own money. She doesn't have to spend it on anyone. Where as a man, anything that he earns, whether he's what he's earning or his inheritance, needs to be spent on the woman in his family. Um, and a woman has property rights, and there's many other things that's only now being given to women, or in the last 100 years being given to women. So when put this one umbrella on like the whole of humankind, it's a very uh it's a very weird thing to do, because a lot of the issues that we have in the society is being solved now. There are societies, or there are tribes, or there are things where we have solved these issues before westernization, and now this westernization comes and they try to put it into their own belief systems. And because it's a patriarchal thing, they take all the things that's granted to men and enforce it on their belief systems. Like what I said, like Islamic culture, like it's supposed to be this very fair thing where a woman, yes, she can work, and she's allowed to work, but it's obviously it's her choice whether she wants to work or not, because she doesn't have to provide. A man has to work, right? um and then the West comes along and colonizes them, and at that time women couldn't work in the West, so then they adopt that culture of women are not allowed to work, and they continue to run with it after the West says no, women are allowed to work now. You know what I mean? It's like it's a weird thing. And my point is just that patriarchy hasn't been the same everywhere. The idea or the narrative of today is bad. I'm not going to say that it's a good thing, and I think that it's going to take a lot to change. Um, and I mean, personally, I feel that Islam is that's the change that the world needs. But not everyone's going to agree with me. You know what I mean? Um, and yeah, that's just my views on the matters. Uh, and again, to just reiterate, some of these things aren't my specific views. I'm just trying to highlight that these opinions do exist, and it's bigger than a conversation between two people. You know what I mean?
It really is. No, that's yeah, that is very true. Um, and I'm glad that you again touched on the westernization of things, because you mentioned that quite a bit in our conversation. You keep saying that the Western people have come and they've given us this particular thing, and they've made it. So I'm glad that you kind of informed us on that, because I wanted to ask about it, but you already answered my question basically. So thank you for that. And one last thing I'd like to give, or you can give, hopefully, from your perspective as a man, by virtue of having a penis. Um, what do you think men should do regarding their body image issues? Because I mean, you earlier on didn't know what muscle dysmorphia, and that those same female things that we give to the names that we give to as females or models are anorexia and bulimia. What do you think they should be doing with that?
I don't know. That's a tough one. Um, my advice, and it's like it's hard for me to, or it would be hard for a lot of people to do what I do. Um, but it's like, discover yourself. Stop watching TV. and start watching more of like what you want to watch. If you like superhero movies, be comfortable that even if people's going to make fun of you, people makes fun. Like I'm not saying like it's okay for people to make fun of you, but I feel like people who are cool also get picked on, and they picking on you is a reflection of them being picked on. So we live in this world where people pick on other people, and it's important to just know who you are, be comfortable with who you are, or learn to become comfortable with who you are. And the most for me, the easiest way, or the what helped me was not following mainstream culture. So not listening to what's currently cool, but listening to what I like to hear. Because it's very easy to just. I think popular music is just it's made in a way that appeals to everyone, but there is music out there that sort of like um, appeals more to you as an individual. There's clothing out there that makes you feel good. There's movies and there's media and there's books and there's things that you like, not because it's cool or not because it's easily accessible, but it's important to go out there, find yourself, discover yourself, do something different. Because for me, it was the act of doing something different that at the beginning I didn't really like. Um, that opened me up to the possibility that I only like these things because everyone else likes it. And once I identified that, I started looking for things that I liked for myself. Um, yeah, I've never felt like I had to change my look because there's ripped t-shirts now. I should have more ripped t-shirts, and then when ripped t-shirts are gone, I'm stuck with a closet full of ripped t-shirts. You know what I mean? Like I've never been that person. Um, so yeah, my advice is just stop looking at the media. I think it's just toxic. The images they portray of what you should be is it's just really toxic.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's what sells for them. So at the end of the day, I don't think that the media is, trying to enforce anything or impose anything on us. I feel like the media, like any other company, companies in the media are just trying to make money. And unfortunately, the easiest way for them to make money is by doing these things, which is toxic at the end of the day.
Mm.
Um,
Thank you.
yeah, that's just how I feel.
Where can people find you and your company and stuff like that?
LinkedIn, VBox, search VBox, Instagram, VBox Studios today, Facebook, it's also VBox, but it's capital VBOX, full stop. I mean, we're not really active on social media at the moment. We're really focused on like doing things. Um, and VBox Studios today. The site's not like 100% yet, but it's getting there.
Right.
Yeah,
And you are very opinionated on Facebook. Should anybody add you on Facebook?
yeah. I mean, sometimes I just like to spark a conversation. It's not necessarily how I feel. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's really how I feel, and sometimes it's just to provoke thought because that's what I
Yeah,
think is important. I think it's
that's
important
true.
for people to like really think, and even if it makes you angry, it's just important to really think
I think
about things and not just accept things for what they are.